How's it going, guys? I am Folkerman, your local brick build historian, with another episode of Brick Build History. Today, we're taking a look at Brickmania's Su-27 Flanker B, the all-weather air superiority jet fighter from the Soviet Union. This is a very interesting aircraft, especially the fact that we don't really know everything about it, especially since it's Russian, and the Russians don't really want us to know what we got going inside. So, there's some speculation on its true performance abilities, but without a doubt, there are some things we know. So we're going to take a look at this kit and go into some of the history and where this thing came from and why they built it. So because this box is absolutely huge and my camera setup is not exactly ideal, I have to move the box a lot. So as you can see, we have Su-27 Flanker, all-weather air superiority fighter, 1,971 Lego brick arm elements, and a custom minifig with a nice picture of a 3/4 profile shot on the front. A little teaser there, I guess. Manufacturing plate right here. Same information. Designed by Daniel Siskin. BKM 8032, 4 out of 5, and all that information there, and a monochromatic image on the back. And don't remember which one I have exactly. I think I have 22, if you didn't see it. Well, let's move this monstrosity out of the way and take a look at the fighter. So as you can see, it's quite a beast. I know the camera shook a lot whenever I was changing it, but oh well. So this thing is huge. It's taken up basically my entire video space here. So yeah, let's start from the beginning. So this nose here is really cool. I really like the angle that he got here, using a very interesting trick in the internal parts over here. Like, how he got that angle is really amazing. And the only stickers on this is on the canopy, which I guess Secret Squirrel Bricks would like, since you don't really have to put a lot of stickers on this thing. You have the 06 printed on here, and this one is specifically one that is seen in the Black Sea a lot, harassing a lot of American and other European allied aircraft and ships like around the Mediterranean. And they have the 06 in this very cool camo pattern, especially like the use of the light blue tealish brick. Like the entire bottom is a light blue teal, and then you have some on the top with the dark blue as well. But the pilot is snugly in there, and I will never take him out unless I destroy this, which is very unlikely. You have this little, I don't know if it's like kind of like a FLIR kind of thing, or like an infrared nodule up here. But, of course, attention to detail. You have a HUD printout on a green slope there, which is really nice. You have an antenna up here, this big old speed brake with a brace on the back. You have this side vent here for the intakes, which are really nice and square. You have some Alamo missiles down here. It was supposed to be another set on the wings, but I got lazy. And then you have archers on the side here, which is basically the Soviet version of the AIM-9. As we look towards the back here, we have printed red stars here. This little symbol right here, I do not exactly know what it's for, but it's there. You have moving stabilators, which the difference between didn't really see it, moving stabilators And if you are wondering, the difference between a stabilator and other elevator type surfaces is the fact that it is a stabilizer and an elevator put together. That's still literally the only difference. And then you have working rudders. I accidentally built this one really stiff, but this one works. You have these bulbs up here, which are what I'm going to guess is for the radar warning system that modern aircraft have. You have the two big old jet engines back here, and then you have the center part, which is where a parachute would be held. And that's really the main gist of it. It's not really a super complicated looking plane, it's just really, really big. You have the machine gun here, or you have the autocannon here. You have a pitot tube, which is what I'm guessing that is. Not exactly sure what this piece is here. Soviet. I don't really know a lot about that much about Soviet aircraft. This stand is really nice. It gets a really good angle on this thing, and it's pretty decently strong. It's not really breaking It's not really breaking any pieces, so can't really complain at all. Like I said earlier, I got really lazy, and I honestly do not like having the fins here off canter, and I just suck at putting them in these clips, so it's basically why I stopped. I am not good at getting those fins clipped into those, and it just looks like off center, which is But besides that, really, really fun kit to build. I had a lot of fun building it. There's a lot of interesting techniques, especially the nose section here. And, I think this is really, really fun. And if you have the space and the money or the want to spend that kind of money, this is a really, really good pickup. Especially this nice camouflage, this brick-built camouflage going on here. Like, it's really, really good. I really think he knocked it out of the park on this one. So, with that said, let's go into some of the little-known history of the Su-27. So the Su-27 is basically the Soviets' answer to the United States fourth-generation fighters. And if you don't know what the fourth-generation fighters are, it's the F-14, the F-15, the F-16, and the F-18. The F-14 and the F-15 came first, naturally, since it's 14 and 15. And there were these big jet fighters, roughly the size of this thing. And they completely changed the jet fighter, like what the jet fighter was. Because at the time, really wasn't too many big jet fighters. You had like the F-4 Phantom, the F-7 Corsair 2, or the F-8 Corsair 2, one of the two. But you basically had these smaller jet fighters with smaller jet engines. Well, when the F-14 and the F-15, the F-14 for the Navy and the F-15 for the Air Force came into play in the late 70s, early 80s, the Soviets realized that they had to do something to equal the F-14 and the F-15 or be better. So they basically go to the Sukhoi development board with a very Russian sounding list of requirements called the Perspektivny Frontovny Istrebetil. Basically the advanced frontline fighter. It is really difficult to say. But it had a few requirements. Long range, meaning that it has to go a really long distance. Good short field performance, so having it like a short airfield and be able to take off from that. It must be agility, have excellent agility, being very maneuverable, despite its size, be able to do really high G turns. Must go or Mach 2 or higher, and have a really heavy armament. As you can see, this is something easier said than done. So whenever they came out with this, they split it into two different requirements. You had the Liegolki PFI, which is the light, and the Tiezholi PFI, which is the heavy. Now the light PFI would be the MiG-29, which is basically the Sukhoi 27, just a little smaller. It's probably about maybe from here to here, which is kind of like the, if you want to compare it, it's kind of like the F-16. It's like a Soviet F-16, but with two engines, and looks exactly like a Su-27. And then, of course, the heavy PFI goes to the Sukhoi Su-27. So in 1977, this would have its first flight. And sometime between 77 and 1980 something, it gets picked up on the NATO's radar. Of course, NATO finds this new aircraft and immediately calls it the Flanker, because they knew it was a fighter. It's kind of easy to tell. So Soviet aircraft that were fighters had a name starting with F. You know, Flanker, Fishbed, Fulcrum. Every Soviet fighter started with F in the NATO code. This one would be given Flanker. And in 1985, it would be fully introduced into the Soviet Air Force. And it would immediately be known as a really good aircraft. It's heavy, but it's fast and very agile. And, you know, of course, the Soviets claim that this is better than the F-15. How true that is kind of up to debate. But, you know, it's the Soviets. They're going to be proud of their own work. So, as of right now, 680 have been built. It's possible they could always build more. It's, you know, it's a fighter. It's expensive, but it's not the most expensive. And from the Su-27, a whole bunch of variants would come from this. So you have like the Su-30, which is a two-seater variant. You have the Su-33, which is the carrier-based variant. Basically, that it has a what's the word? It's got like flaps up here, and the wings fold, and it's got a tail hook. Unfortunately for the Russians, they really can't use their Su-33 since the Admiral Kuznetsov has been in dry dock for at least 2 years now. So, you know, oh well. The Su-34, which is a side-by-side two-seat variant, more akin for fighter bombing, which is very interesting because you don't see a side-by-side. So maybe sometime Dan can make a Su-34. And then there's the Su-35, which is basically the Su-25 or Su-27, but more improved and more advanced. And then also the Shenyang J-11, which is the Chinese license built of the Su-27. And eventually China would actually build their own version of the Su-33, and the Soviets were not happy about that, but that's a different story. So in 1985, this goes into service alongside with the MiG-29 to be a long-range, high capacity, like a high, heavy armament, like fighter for not only deterring aircraft like the B-1s, the B-1Bs, like the cool I think they're supersonic bombers, B-52s, and other, you know, allied bomber aircraft. It also will go out into the Mediterranean, as this one specifically does, or into the Arctic or something, and will fly around NATO carriers and all that or other ships to shoo them away. It will also escort things like the Tupolev Tu-95 Bears and the Blackjacks and the Backlash and all those other ones. And it just does a whole multitude of jobs really, really well, which is why the Russians have kept it since 1985. So that's almost hitting 40 years of service, which is quite outstanding. So the Su-27 is powered by two Saturn AL TAC-31F afterburner turbofan engines. Basically, turbofan engines mean that it's got some bypass going around the outside. I'm guessing a low bypass. And it will reach a speed of Mach 2.35. So it definitely reaches the Mach 2 specification by 0.35 Mach, which is a couple hundred miles per hour. It's got a range of 2,190 miles without any kind of refueling, which is quite amazing. So it has long range, and it is quite heavily armored. It has a 30 millimeter autocannon, a Gryazev Shipanov GSH TAC-30 TAC-1 30 millimeter autocannon with 150 rounds, which comes out here, and it has 10 hardpoints. I only see 8 on here. I'm guessing there's some probably like along the fuselage here, but you have the wingtips, which are usually just missiles, and then you have the wing mounted hardpoints, which are for either missiles or bombs, and then you have the centerline ones, which are for also missiles or bombs or even drop tanks for extra fuel to extend the range. And the thing with hardpoints is you can put whatever you want on them. Basically, you could put rockets, you could put bombs, you could put missiles, you could put drop tanks, you could even put sensor pods on there, you can put jamming pods. There's just a whole multitude of things you can put on a hardpoint. So 10 hardpoints is pretty heavily armed. I mean, I know the F-18 has 11, and you know that's only one more, so it's quite heavily armed. And as you can see, you can have Alamo or Archers, and you know, any kind of bombs you want. You could have put a bunch of bombs on here if you wanted to. So the Su-27, some people say, is the Soviet F-15, and you know, kind of can't blame them because it very much does look like a Soviet F-15, especially the fact that you have a big speed brake coming out of the center here, just like an F-15. You have two big old vertical stabilizers on the back, like an F-15. You have two big engines to push it through however many miles per hour, like an F-15. It's, you know, a lot of people call it the Soviet F-15, and I don't blame them. But it's also a little different because it's Soviet. And the Soviets have an amazing ability of just making things simple. And, you know, whether it's the ability to produce a aircraft really fast and make a lot of them, or just making it simple for the pilot to use it. Like, I'm not saying it's better than the F-15, but it can definitely give its money to an F-15. But with that said, what do you think of the Su-27? Do you think this is actually worth the price that it comes with, despite, you know, the fact that it looks super cool whenever it's on its stand? Do you believe that the Soviets kind of copied the F-15, or do you think they made a better version of it? What do you think of the Sukhoi 27? And, you know, if you learned anything, I learned a lot looking this stuff up. Leave it in the comments. if you want me to review another aircraft or tank or whatever I have, just let me know what you want me to review in the comments. And you know, if you like the video, share with your friends who are also interested in this. And yeah, with that said, I've been Volkerman, and let's continue to build history.